Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View on Wednesday, the 17th of June 2026. Next Friday, Celtic players come back. Some Celtic players come back into training. Players will come in on the Friday, they'll get their weight taken, they'll get their fitness taken to see where they are fitness wise, to make sure they've not been sitting on their jacksies over the last 3.5 weeks or something. Was it? They've been off 4 weeks. It'll be 4 or 5. It'll be 4 weeks at that point. 4 weeks off sitting under Jackson. Yeah, Martin O'Neill. There is news this morning that came out late last night that Martin O'Neill wants the deal done for Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham to stay on at Celtic as his coaches. Now, this goes against some of the rumours that were out there that said that Martin O'Neill didn't like Sean Maloney and Fozzie, didn't like their training methods, didn't like this. He's not interested in Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham coming back. Well, just shows you what some people think out there. And there is whilst an agreement has not been reached as yet, there is talks still ongoing, it is believed. And especially the fact that the players come back not this Friday, next Friday, a week on Friday. Celtic and Martin O'Neill will be wanting to get the deal done. It's starting to swing the way in the favour of Fozzie and Maloney. Because if Celtic don't have anyone to take training, bar Martin O'Neill, they're up shit creek without a paddle. So, all the cards are starting to stack towards Maloney and Fozzie getting what they want, and rightly so. They should not have been asked to take a pay cut if it is true. But with the delay that seems to be going on, I would say that it more than likely is. Right. Celtic have been linked with a number of players over the last week or so. We're going to dive into transfer market. We're going to look at the players. We're going to look at when their contracts expire. And is there a reality that Celtic may get the player? Now, wait a minute, because Celtic are linked with... I'll just see if I can get a message back from someone that I asked the question. But I have him in. I have asked the question of someone that's close to a club in question, but it's far too early in the morning for them to get back to me. Far too early. Unreasonable to message someone at this time in the morning in that country. So we are going to look at the players that Celtic have been linked with. And the thing is one of them's got an absolutely poof. It could break the bank for Celtic. Let's jump onto the shared screen. And Gordon says, "Morning, Baz. This board seems to find a new way daily to piss us off." I think that there is things going on in the background, but we will wait and see. So first up, the first player up is a Swedish defender. And I would say that we were in the market. We're definitely in the market for a defender. There are some other clubs looking at the player. At 3 million euros, it's there or thereabout where Celtic would be looking at. What does it say for the current defenders that we have at Celtic, with Austin Trusty at the World Cup, with Cameron Carter-Vickers injured every single season that he has been at Celtic. Cameron Carter-Vickers has not had one full injury-free season, and that kind of affects you going into European football. We need a defender that's ready and is going to last the campaign. Could this young lad, 22-year-old Swedish player, he's got Swedish and Bosnia-Herzegovina nationalities. He's got dual nationality. Well, there we go. His contract expires on 2028. We also have Dane Murray at the back. Dane Murray's sort of coming through the system. What would that say about Dane Murray if you go and bring in a 22-year-old Swedish player? Does that say that Dane Murray's good enough? Do the Celtic think that Dane Murray's not good enough? Or is it bringing in someone else because Stephen Welsh has left the building? So it does leave us kind of short. If you remember last year, we went out and brought in a player that played about an hour and a half's football. But squad-wise, we do need to bring another defender in. Next up is a striker. Now his value has rocketed to 3 million. His dual nationality as well. He can play as a centre forward and a right winger. That's an interesting one. Remember, Celtic will be in the market for wingers because Jota is not back until November. And needless to be said, it's by November, you're pretty much, Europe's kind of taking care of itself. Can Jota come back in at that point and force his way back into the team? There's one thing for sure, for the second half of the season, Jota will be like a new player at Celtic. Whether he is like Jota Mark 1 that we got all those years ago, I very much doubt it. But he will still be a valued member of the squad and he'll give us something else going forward. So looking at this, another striker and potential winger, his values went up to 3 million this year. Not too sure how I feel about that. Like we say, it is all speculation. Now, this is another player. This is the third player I want to talk about this morning, Alfie Devine. He's been linked with Celtic a couple of times now. 21-year-old, birthplace Warrington, England. Alfie Devine has been linked to Celtic before. The CAA base group that Celtic deal with quite a lot. Current club is Preston North End, but his current valuation is around about the €8 million mark, which is around about £7.2 million. Are Celtic seriously paying £7.2 million for another midfielder? That's kind of Arnie Engels' territory. He is a bit younger than Arnie Engels. He was on loan from Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a good track record of doing deals with Spurs, so if you can get him for around about the £6 million, I could see that one maybe happening. Just purely for the business that we've done with Spurs in the past, £6 million bracket seems to be the Celtic we'll be spending in that. If you think that we're going to get 25 to 30 million pounds for Arnie Engels, it's going to be an interesting one to watch. He is in that attacking central midfield or a second striker. So that means that he kind of sits in the position where Benji Negrin sits in right now, because Benji Negrin's kind of been playing through the middle towards the end of last season as that second striker. It's an interesting one. That is the third player this morning. Another one that we've been looking at and has been well spoken about is Elias Filete. He is another striker. He's born in Paris. He's 24-year-old, a couple of years older, but his market value is peanuts. Is complete peanuts. And some may say it's 600 grand. That's I make no comparison at all to Henrik, but that's the kind of money that we paid for Henrik Larsson all those years ago. And as a striker, if you can get a striker in for £500,000 and he goes on to score 20, 30 goals a season, it's a good piece of business. But can Eliza Fillet make the step up into Scottish football? That is the big question. So, first of all, we spoke about a defender, a Swedish defender, and then it was about a potential striker and a winger. And then Alfie Devine, who plays in midfield. Elias Filete is a striker also. Says to me that Martin O'Neill, if we are getting linked with so many strikers, Martin O'Neill's not overly convinced, and a lot of people will not like this, but for me, it says that Martin's going to turn around and go, do you know what? Nah, you were good last season, mate, but I don't think that you're at the level that I want a Celtic striker to be at. So Brendan Rodgers' old pal may not get a second year contract at Celtic. Anyway, we are linked with another striker. And this is where it gets a bit, I'm not too sure about this one because he's done fantastically well at Elche. He's done fantastically well in Elche. His price has rocketed since he came from Elche. You can see the clubs he came from. Real Madrid. Real Madrid sold him to Elche. And Elche got himself a bit of a bargain. But his valuation has jumped. Although Transfer Market says around about 10 million, I have asked someone that is close to people at Elche. He used to own a restaurant in the town that I used to stay in, up in the Costa Blanca. We'll wait and see if we get back from him later today. But yeah, his valuation could rocket to around about 15 million euros. Will Celtic pay that kind of money for a striker? That is the big question. It seems to be going from one end with a striker, being linked with a striker that's in the 10 million above bracket, to Fillet, who is 600k as a striker, and then this other striker who's won 3 million. So you're kind of thinking, are Celtic just hedging their bets? Let's see if we can maybe get the guy from Elche. Maybe Celtic think it's just Elche. They're a small team. No, they're not a small team. When it comes to it, the stadium is massive. They fill out their stadium easily every game, Elche. So and we'll wait and see how that one goes out. And what does it say for the current strikers? We're going to keep Callum Osmond. Kelechi Iheanacho, I don't think he will get offered another contract by Celtic unless it's lastminute.com, which there is still a great possibility. You know that Kelechi could be offered a contract at Celtic at the end of the transfer window when Celtic didn't get their first, second or third striking. Imagine going from like 15 million. Right, we can't get him. We go down to the guy at 3 million. No, we can't get him. And then the time that you go down to the guy that's 600 grand, someone else is bottom. It'd be a very Celtic summer, wouldn't it? Anyway, that is your update this morning. Let's jump into some of the comments this morning. It is all just speculation, but those are the players that have been linked with over the last couple of days. Might as well go for Auchinleist Talbot striker for 20 grand. Yes, Alva Delvin would be a good addition. Look at the last time we got Carter Vickers, and Rangers done well with Mikey Moore from Spurs youth team. I think that there is a good possibility that one could happen. There is a good chance that can happen. 15 million euros, well out of budget. Let's be honest, deals will be around 3 to 5 million each player. Nothing's going to change. Well, you never know. Do you know, Martin will want to set his heights high. With a striker at 600 grand, you're buying chance. Do you know, is there a possibility? With a player that's done it for Elche, for a player that has proven that he's a goal scorer, that's the kind of money that Celtic are going to have to look at. You know, in Martin's first time at Celtic were in the market for £6 million players. 25 years later, do you know the value of... Could you imagine the valuation of Chris Sutton, Alan Thompson, Neil Lennon, and such like in today's market? Celtic would not be buying them because they would be on 100 odd grand a week. You would only get them at the end of their career, like Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel. You wouldn't get them where they could give you 3 or 4 years good playing time for the club, 5 years good playing time for the... There is no way that we could afford players like that now. So it's just... Martin will try and aim for as high as he can. It's whether or not the board, and this is what we all know it's going to come down to, is it a case that the board will say yes or no? And we all know that it comes down to one person and one person only. But Dermot likes to live in his means. He's not changed in 20 odd years, so why now? Why now? Well, Celtic have a transfer budget of 40 odd million. If you bring in, say you bring 2 players in, 10 million plus, there's 20 million of that. And you could bring in another 6, 7 players for a lot less. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I think the big news of the day is the fact that Martin O'Neill does want a deal done for Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham. He wants the band back together. Oh, and then there's the Cole Campbell one. I never even looked at the Cole Campbell deal. But yeah, Cole Campbell, that's another player that we're being heavily linked with and supposedly in talks with, a young American that is not wanted by his German club. Dortmund's valuation is excessive though, because he was out on loan last season and he had an option to buy for £6.8 million, and that club didn't want to take it up. Joseph Davison, Baz, that will include wages. I don't think so, mate. I think that the transfer budget will just be for... there's 2 different budgets at the club. There is Weir's players' wage budget, and there will be the transfer budget. Those things will be completely different entities. When you're looking at a spreadsheet for the business going forward over the year, you've got the money in from the season ticket. You can speculate, if you get into the Champions League, we can bring this money in. You look at all your income brackets and you say, right, that's potential. You look at the money that you have in hand at the moment and you'll say, right, we can allocate 40 million for transfers. For the transfer kit is 40 odd million. And then you look at the rest of the money and say, well, that covers wages, that's and running cost, wages, etc. So any business will know that it has. And then you've got to look at the income that could potentially come in from transfers as well. Celtic could quite easily bring in 40 million, which means by the end of the transfer window, Celtic will have spent nothing. Just to really annoy the fans. And that is where Dermot Desmond and the Celtic board are good. They think they are. But I do not think that the transfer kitty, the transfer budget would come under... that would skew the budget for wages. It would completely... If you were to look at the budget for wages and it's sitting with 40 million there, there's every chance you go, right, we can give him a massive wage rise. So your overall budget for wages will be completely separate entity to the budget for the transfers. It would be in my business anyway. Happy birthday, John. John, there's a lot of people saying happy birthday, John. So happy birthday, John. I'm waiting on Kane scoring tonight for another 130. You've what? I'm not even watching them tonight. Not all fans wear green tinted specs. Some of us could see what's going on, whilst 80% still think Martin will get backed. I think that Martin will get backed, Glaswegian, because if he doesn't get backed, we're not winning the league this year. Simple as that. If Martin O'Neill doesn't get to spend 30 million minimum in this transfer window, we will not win the league. I'll say that now. We will not win the league. We will not get as lucky as we did last season. Especially with McInnes at Rangers, and Hearts will bring in another decent manager. Hearts aren't going to go backwards. Hearts are in the Champions League. Hearts not got a manager yet anyway. They've even been looking at that. Well, they can't because McInnes hasn't been officially unveiled as Hearts manager. Odds. Stevie Gerrard, Carl Robertson, Dave Chiller, Gary O'Neill. Surely not John Eustace. Brian Barry Murphy. There's no way is he getting the job, is he? There's no way as a guy called Brian Barry Murphy's getting the job at Hearts. That's far too Catholic sounding to get the Hearts job. Damien Duff, he's just got another job. There's no way is it Damien Duff because he's just got a job somewhere. I've seen that. Scott Parker. That's wishful thinking, surely. Mad Edinburgh lot. Liam Rosenair. Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane's not taking the Hearts job. Who makes a shit up? Honest. Oh, that's it. I can't read any more of that. Robbie Keane is Hearts manager. Oh, Jesus. I just realised I was a bit behind there, Law. You're a bit behind. What, a couple of days? We used up our last shred of luck. We used up our last shred of luck. Yeah, we did. We have. You know, if you're sitting in the Celtic board, we got away with one last season. We won the league fair and square, but I think that the other teams will feel disappointed that they didn't have the anyway. I've seen it in one of the Daily Rags about Keane. This is fucking bonkers. It's not going to happen. Get some Lithuanians in Hearts. That's not going to work. Maybe the board are waiting on the cash for Engels, Maidan, Hattie, and Ralston. I don't think they need to wait on that. I think that the money's already sitting there. More chance of Nosy Parker. Yeah, this is very, very true. The Hearts of Zenith, Bobby Keane. Right, anyway. That is your Celtic news this morning. Just a recap on some of the players that Celtic have been linked with over the last couple of days. I will just go over them quickly for late comers to the show once I just do checking this. And let's add him to the list. I think there's every chance of the Cole Campbell one happening, but more at a realistic 5 million. So some of the players that we have been linked with, loads of forwards, as you would expect. First one is Cole Campbell, young American, 20-year-old American, who has a valuation of around about 5 million euros. His club wanted 7.5 for the young American, but his team that he was on loan at did not fancy it. He could play on the left, he could play on the right. Cole Campbell makes the Huns look contract. And he can also play as an attacking midfield player. So I suggest that utility kind of thing is something that Celtic would like the look of. Next player is he plays for Elche. His valuation has rocketed way over 10 million. Although it says 10 million on transfer market, has been suggested that the Elche will want a lot more. I have asked the guy up in Elche what's going on, but he isn't online this morning as of yet. Striker, over 10 million pounds. Will Celtic pay over 10 million pounds for a striker? If they want somebody that's proven to score goals, they will have to, because if they don't, they're going to go down the road of Elias Filete and 600 grand. Big difference between 600 grand and a goal scorer and over 10 million. It's the market that Celtic are in. And then we're looking at attacking midfielder, central midfielder, or second striker, Alfie Devine. Celtic have been linked with him before. It's we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Not too sure. And another striker that we've been linked with in the 3 million range, but 2.5 million range. See how that one kicks out. And then a defender coming out of Sweden. Defender coming out of Sweden that we have been linked with. We do need a defender, and we need a top class defender, someone that's going to push, not somebody that's just going to come in to make up the numbers, someone that is going to push. Cameron Carter-Vickers. And Martin O'Neill does like his Swedish defenders, doesn't he? Big Johan Malby, Mark II, maybe. I don't know. But then again, you never know with Celtic. That is your Celtic transfer update this morning to the players that we have been linked with over the last week or so. When it comes to Celtic, they have still released nothing. It's we'll just wait and see. And the big news is Martin O'Neill is still fighting for Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham to be given a better contract than they were offered. Super chat coming in from Australia, Perth Luxury. Tony Bloom caught speaking with Oliver Glasner regarding filling investigations. No chance of signing Alila just now. Typical biscuit tin board. Alila he's playing at the World Cup, so can't see that happening. Can't see him. Selling Lagerbelke was dumb, Rogers shit. Yeah. Lagerbelke is a player that should never have been sold from Celtic. I don't know, he was the only defender to score from a header, from a corner in the Champions League for Celtic. And what does Celtic do? They never play him after that. And then they tell him he's no good. And then they put him down the pecking order and they say that now you can go, mate. Bonkers. Whilst someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers stays on at Celtic and has never had a full season at Celtic. That's one of the most bizarre things ever. What Celtic have to realise is the average players are going to cost between 10 and 15 million. Very true, mate. Very, very true. Do you know, players like Arnie Engels, talking about £10 million. You know, people in Scotland think, oh, that's too expensive. That's the current market value of average players in European football. Do you know, if we don't go in at the £10 million player plus, you're then going around proper bargain basement stuff. Now, whilst that was all good on the run to 9 in a row all these years ago, there was a lot of bargain basement stuff then. There was a lot of absolute dross brought in. When you look at the fact that Celtic brought in £7 million worth of defenders, and they still haven't got one of those defenders really off the books as it stands. Anyway, we'll wait and see. Lagerbelke and Rocky had no chance under Rodgers. This is very true. Teams will hold Celtic to ransom on players. They know we have cash in the bank. I don't think so. You could say that Celtic are holding teams to ransom with players wanting knocking back 25 million for Arnie Engels. That's holding teams to ransom, mate. You know, you can say that other teams are holding us to ransom, but Celtic knocking back 25 million, that's some set of cojones. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, why is Engels will command at least double his price tag to joining us? Yeah, he will. What's the difference between buying in a player? This is an Ange Postecoglou saying. You know, what's the difference between buying in a player at 10 million and selling them on for 25 to 30 million? It's the exact same as buying a player in at 2 million and hoping to try and sell them for 10. It is what it is, isn't it? Yeah, but they know we are desperate. I think every club's desperate, mate. I don't think that Celtic are desperate. I think that that's a bit harsh. I think that Celtic are a club that is going through a changed season. Every club does that. Every club knows that every player has their price, you know, and it's whether or not players want to leave the club. And it all depends as well how good the manager of the club that wants you really wants you. You know, a lot of it comes down to Martin O'Neill picking up the phone and how much he wants the player. Ange Postecoglou used to say that. You know, remember the conversation, Ange coming, having a press conference and say, yep, I had a phone call with a player. The deal was agreed in principle. The club had agreed. The wages were agreed. I spoke to the player and I said no after speaking to him because he didn't think that he had the right mentality to come to Celtic. So sometimes it is the manager that knocks back the player because he thinks that you've just not got it for me, mate. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this morning. Half hour mark on the dot. Well, 31 minutes and 30 seconds. That would do this morning. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.